All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Cal Hui. I'm going to kind of catch you guys up on the story so far. First of all, I want to introduce this is Cyberpunk 2020. For those of you that aren't familiar with this game, it's a tabletop role-playing game that was created in the late 1980s and has had a series of installments that have come out since then. Many of you that play video games have probably heard about this game lately in the news with CD Projekt Red creating a actual video game adaptation to this, as well as Mike Pondsmith, the creator of this game, uh, also creating a new installment for the tabletop role-playing version. Uh, with all that popularity and stuff, I've always been a huge fan of the cyberpunk science fiction subgenre. For those of you that aren't familiar with cyberpunk, what that is it's a type of uh, it's a type of science fiction that typically takes place in the near, not too distant future. Typically, it's a very bleak world. It's a kind of based off of like noir stories where the protagonist isn't always walking out at the end of the story with sunshine and daisies. Um, in this world, a lot of cybernetics are a big deal. You know, getting a robotic arm, a cybernetic eye, all sorts of neat gizmos and such. You're going to note that the technology for this game is very different from what we have today. It definitely shows its age a little bit. You're going to see a lot of stuff where, having a cell phone in this game is drastically different from having a cell phone today. You don't have access to the internet, all sorts of other attachments like regular features like having a camera or being able to record on your phone and stuff. You can't do that in Cyberpunk 2020. Now, the majority of Cyberpunk 2020 takes place in a place called Night City, and I have a map here for you to see. So, Night City it's a fictional city set in uh, kind of between Los Angeles and San Francisco, and it is one of the last big cities in the world right now. Like stuff like global warming has really drastically affected the Midwest, and communism has spread, extremely so in both Asia and Europe. In this world, the Soviet Union never fell, and the Chinese Communist Party uh, kind of stayed more communist than they were, the current status of what they got going on. And we have this grid here of the city, lots of neighborhoods, and I'll explain them as we go, with a particular mention of the combat zone. Now you're going to notice in this video that the combat zone doesn't really have the neat look and feel as everything else, and there's a reason why. So Night City, it's this very, very big city, very diverse, very cosmopolitan, but on the fringes of the city, uh, everything's falling apart into this no man's land called the combat zone. And here, street gangs, rapists, serial killers, everybody that is basically bad lives out there, and it's a hellscape, and it's constantly growing, constantly shifting, constantly changing. So there's not really a map of the place. Now, if you actually follow some of the materials for Cyberpunk 2020, they actually have details for every single building on this map. Now, we're working with what Mike Pondsmith has, and we're also adding extra stuff, which you'll see. So for those of you that are diehard faithfuls to the original Cyberpunk 2020, I think you guys will still feel vindicated, seeing that a lot of the stuff that is from the original game is incorporated into the playthrough that we're doing right now. But then also, I'm throwing in my own stuff to really make the experience personal as well. So we have a small party, and you're going to be introduced to them shortly in the next video. Uh, we've already done a few sessions. Now, I just came up with the idea of starting a video series for this. So this is the reason why I'm producing this video now, to kind of explain to you this is how everything has happened thus far. So first of all, our characters, I'm going to show you guys. We have Nephilim here, who's going to be played by Taylor Haman. We have Doc Slicer, which is going to be played by Ingrid. And then we're going to have Cowboy, which is going to be played by Snow. Now, we're going to get into these characters' backstories and such very extensively in the next video, and you're going to see how they relate and their characters and such. But I just wanted to get you used to those names. Now, in the story, these characters have all gotten brought together to work for this organization called Tiger Bomb, and they are one of the big corporations that kind of like run the whole city, essentially. They're this big pharmaceutical corporation, very, very powerful. And they have this entire arcology set up, which is essentially a city built in one building. So a sort of vertical city. And these guys here, the characters, they've been hired by an executive called Morton. And Morton is, he is very much a cutthroat businessman. And he's hired the players to essentially be, wet work, black ops types of guys to get stuff done for the corporation without anybody knowing the corporation was involved. So stuff like killing people, collecting intelligence, and all that nasty stuff. And so he kind of controls them, and he makes them live in the arcology and basically treats them like indentured servants. They're forced into very, very ugly settings, and they don't get treated well, and they get paid barely anything, all while putting their lives on the line. And so Morton's been really taking advantage of that. Now, lately, some of the jobs he's tasked them on, it all started with him sending them on a mission to this research vessel to check on a guy called Dr. Caspian. And when they got to the research vessel, they saw that everyone was dead, that some weird chemical, biological toxin had been unleashed, and everybody had seemed to have been killed by the chemical, although there seemed to be some type of inclination that foul play was involved. We never really delved into that, but who knows? We might come back to it. You never know with Cyberpunk. So they came back, and the next series of jobs that they had was they had to follow a guy called William Gilmore. Now, this is going to be between just you and me. William Gilmore is the son of Larry Gilmore, who is the boss of Morton. Now, the players don't know this because they didn't ask, they didn't try to figure it out. But Morton hired these guys to collect on William Gilmore for blackmail against Larry so that Morton can take Larry's job. Now, these guys followed William to a whole bunch of places. They took pictures. They followed him to a strip club where he met Terry Skiv. Now, Terry Skiv is the son of the Mafia Don in all of Night City. And these two are very good friends. They hung out at this strip club and later on went to William's apartment where they engaged in sexual acts, which the party then took pictures of. So they got their blackmail. Now, while they were on this mission, though, they were met by they crossed paths with a guy called Heckler. Now, Heckler is a very dirty, nasty guy who lives on the wrong side of the tracks. And he is very much interested in acquiring the players to work for him. He is kind of a talent agent, if you will, but he specializes in talent that operates in, the clandestine world of murder, organized crime, and shakedowns and stuff like that. So he's kind of convinced the players that it would be best for them to try and leave Morton and leave Tiger Bomb's employ and work for him instead. And he's got everything set up. And right now, the players are totally going for it. They're buying it completely. But we'll just have to see, when you make a deal with Heckler, we'll have to see exactly how honest he's being. Players have been very inquisitive on, is he going to backstab them and such, and they should be like that. But so far, they haven't really been able to tell what's in store for them. But they do know that they want to get out of being under Morton's thumb. So they're playing a very dangerous game right now because they're trying to sneak away from Morton, and Morton is not going to take kindly to people leaving on their contracts. He's definitely going to try to kill them for their betrayal. So it's going to be up to them to try and navigate their way from being under the thumb of a corporate executive and yet still making money, still surviving, and getting out ahead. The deck is definitely stacked against them. I'm very interested to see how they react to it all. Now, some other information for you. Lately, since the very beginning, the players, every time they've gone into the rail system, the subway, they have been stalked by a very interesting individual. He appears to be a nondescript middle-aged man, but there's so much more to him there. Now, between you and me, who this guy is, his name is Joshua Brightman, and he is originally from Cyberpunk 2020's original canon. He's a serial killer, and he murders people, and he is fixated on the party ever since he first crossed paths with them. And so he's really trying to find a way to terrify the players until the point of where he tries to actually kill them. Now, he's crossed paths with them before, leaving interesting origami figures behind and other goodies, including a dead corpse. And, we'll just see, will the players interact with him again. Other people of real interest are mainly Tabitha Spicer. Now, she is the mother of Doc Slicer, one of the players, played by Ingrid. Now, Tabitha Spicer is completely crazy, and she hates her daughter and wants to kill her in the most painful of ways possible. So she has employed people to try and track down her dearest daughter and murder her. I don't know how it's going to play out yet. However, we're now catching up to the very near future of where the players have gone to the combat zone to attempt to try and pick up all the equipment that Doc Slicer, her character, left behind at this apartment before she went under the employ of Tiger Bomb. They successfully got the stuff. However, they came across a trap that Tabitha Spicer laid out for them. It was a jewelry box with a ballerina that danced on top of it. But all the body parts of the ballerina had been replaced with crude plastic parts that kind of looked like, Ingrid's character, Doc Slicer. So a lot of twisted stuff going on there. And when they messed with the box, it shot out biotoxin gas, which nearly killed Nephilim. Now, they've successfully escaped from that apartment with Doc Slicer's stuff, but they've now run into the issue of the ambush party that Tabitha Spicer sent to kind of hunt down the players and make sure that her dearest daughter is dead. Now, these guys are called the Voodoo Boys, and they're very, very interested in collecting the bounty on Doc Slicer's head, and they won't hesitate to murder the rest of the party as well. Only time will tell what happens with this. You're going to find out very soon in the next video. I hope you all enjoy the story. Let me know if you have any thoughts or such in the comments below. And I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I hope you all have a good time. All right. Well, I'll catch you later. All right. See ya.